All right, all right. So today we're gonna talk about how to raise millions of dollars in OPM or other people's money, even if even if you don't have any wealthy connections, no social media presence, or even if you're new to real estate investing. All right. So before we start, who here believes that you need to have wealthy connections? And that's the only way for you to raise millions of dollars in private capital. Who here believes that? Let's make this interactive, guys. Type it in the chat if you believe that you need to have wealthy connections before you can raise millions of dollars in private capital. Right? Brandon said no. Gerald said okay. Gerald said every day is a good day to talk about money. That's true. All right. Yes, Hassan said yes. That's what he believes in. All right. So, and Mike and I are here to tell you guys that at the end of this presentation of this training, you will realize that that's just a big lie, right? It's not only for people who have wealthy connections, you know, uh, and what you're going to learn today will actually prove that anybody, as long as they follow the system, go through this training, right, and really master it, can raise millions of dollars in private capital, right, Mike? Like, Mike, did you grow up around money? You know, and Mike will tell you that he did not, right? Go
No,
ahead,
I
Mike.
didn't grow up. No, I didn't grow up with any money, brother. Like, my family wasn't wealthy. My friends weren't wealthy. I mean, I thought somebody having $100 bill was rich,
Yeah.
and that's so far from the truth.
Right, right, exactly. Right. So now who here are newbie investors? You have not done a single deal yet. Who here are newbie investors? And don't be shy. Again, this is we want this to be interactive. So type in newbie, in the chat. Who here are newbies? You have not done a single deal yet. Liv, Sam,
Jacqueline, Sam,
Jacqueline,
Connor,
Authors
Capital,
Capital. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but okay, Todd. All
Todd,
right. Teresa,
Teresa. Yeah,
Rahat.
Teresa,
Okay.
Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa is working on first indication.
Bro.
Awesome. All right. So the good news is this training is for you, even though you're a newbie investor, because right, you need to line up the money long before you have a deal. And the reason why is the last thing you want is to ruin your reputation by calling the broker, right, or the real estate agent on the 29th day of a 30-day closing, saying that, you know what, I couldn't raise the money, I couldn't do the deal. And brokers, they talk to each other, right? So you have to you have to have the reputation that every deal that you make an offer on, unless the due diligence says that it's a crappy property or the numbers don't work, that you can close that property, right, Mike? That's uh the reason why brokers love Mike and Nate is because whenever they get a deal, they submit an offer, right? Provided the due diligence is great, right? Then they can close on the deal, right, Mike?
Absolutely, man. You don't want to waste people's time. And so you avoid wasting people's time. First, you do your due diligence before you submit an offer. But not only that, you got to line up that capital
Mm-hmm.
ahead of time. You got to get this OPM. And that's
Yep,
what this training is about, brother.
that's right, that's right. Now who here among you are experienced investors? Maybe you own 2 to 3 properties or more, but so far you've only used your own money. So you can say experience in the chat. Who here are more experienced, but you've only used your own money so far? All right, so let's check that out. Hassan said guilty. Okay. Teresa, that's us. All right. Rahat, me and my husband. Cool.
I
All
got the
right. Who
husband
else? Who
team.
else are
All right.
experienced investors? But you've only used your money, right? So now the good news is this training is also for you, right? Because that experience that you have, that's gold, right? Because once you utilize that experience and in a way that you're not bragging to potential investors, but you're kind of still bragging, in a way, but just telling your story, your experiences, sharing that, out there. I mean, that will help you attract millions of dollars in private capital, and now you can scale your rental portfolio like a lot quicker, right? Because you don't have to save the money to buy another property. You can literally buy multiple properties, right, in the same year, like, and these are big properties, and you end up growing your wealth a lot faster, right? Mike, is that consistent with your experience? Once you raise millions of dollars in private capital, your portfolio grew.
Absolutely. I mean, the only thing holding back, once you have the system, the way you scale up is using OPM. I mean, even from the basics, from starting from a smaller unit of single family, two family, if you keep using your own capital, unless you got the Rockefeller line, you got that 3-5 year generation worth of money, right? Which is hundreds of millions of dollars. But even those people leverage their money as well.
Right.
So in order to really scale up, you've got to be able to raise other people's money. That is the key, and that is the secret of really scaling your rental portfolio, and in time.
That's right. That's right. So now just imagine this for a minute, right? Now, for some of you, this is like complete fantasy, right? Or you may not even believe this, but just imagine for a minute that you know how to raise millions of dollars in private capital. Excuse me. So like you can raise $1 million in the next 12 months, right? Of private capital, right? And you do that over the next 5 years, right? You have the blinders on, you
Yep.
focus on this. So do you know that in the next 5 years, you can buy 20 to $25 million worth of properties? And by the time you pay your investors, all the expenses and so on, you will have net coming to you at least $25,000 a month in cash flow, passive income, right? You go on vacation, it's still $25,000 a month coming in, right? So how will your life change when you have $25,000 a month coming in every single month, right? Who here will, quit their jobs right now? Raise your hand if you will quit your jobs right now if you have $25,000 a month coming in. Now, again, that's kind of like the minimum, right? That's like your worst case scenario. That's your share, excluding your
Look,
investors, right?
there's some people, hey, there's some
Mhm.
people, they've done a $2 to $3 million deal,
Mhm.
raised at less than that, and rents skyrocket.
Mm.
I mean, we've had deals that were. I mean, I got a 12 unit that generates what 12, no, 17,000 a month.
Mm.
A 12 unit and a 30 unit alone generates
25.
22,000
Mhm.
a month NOI.
Mhm. Right,
Just
right.
two buildings, just 42 units. So I'm telling you, it's possible. Like these things right here generate enough income that you can retire your spouse, you can donate to your community, you can send your kids to that private school or get them the health assistance they need, or send them to that. If you got kids that play sports, you can send them to that camp or get them that trainer, or really send them to the school to really articulate and increase their skill set. Uh, like my daughter, she likes to do ballet. I don't know, Debbie, you want to go to ballet? Again, these kids are on their phones. But my point is, these are the things that you can do with this money, and you can pass it on to your kids. Now, is that something you guys really want? Because if you're not interested in wealth like that, just hang up right now. Just hang it up. I'm serious. Who in
Right,
here
right.
wants to do things like that?
Mhm. Yeah, man.
Type it in
So,
the chat.
yep. So raise your hand if you will quit your job when you have $25,000 a month coming in, or Brandon said, I want it. Cool. Like, who among you here will spend more time with your family? Like, like what Mike does, right? So Mike spends a lot of time like coaching his kids, all of his kids' sports, right? So he is present in their lives, you know, not just presents during Christmas or holidays, right? Or their birthdays, but being present. I mean, that's invaluable, right? So Liv said, you know, I would travel the world. Brittany said, I want this, you know, cool. All right, guys. So and again, this is minimum after paying your investors, right? You know, I mean, you can literally have like 40, $50,000 a month cash flow with $25 million worth of properties, right? Depending on your ownership equity in the deal, right? So I'm talking about like the bare minimum, like you only own like 10, 20% of the deal or whatever, right? You know, so, but just imagine the possibilities that raising private capital can do for you, right? It will allow you to scale up to the big leagues a lot faster than you guys think. Okay.
Hey, just
Oh,
what like listen. The new American dream is financial freedom. And it's all these things that you guys define. Some you said you would travel more, some would spend more time with their family. This financial freedom is however you envision it. But the key to doing this again is OPM, raising other people's money.
yep. All right, guys. So the goal for this training is for you to learn how to raise money without asking for money. And I know that sounds weird, but really that's exactly what we do day in and day out. You know, we don't blatantly ask people for money, and yet by the time they got to know Mike, it's like, hey, Mike, you know, I have $100,000. What can we do with this? You know, and later on, I will show you why that is the case. Okay, so like all of this you know money that we were able to raise, the three secrets that we will share with you enabled acquisition of over $300 million worth of properties. You know, I've only shown, you know, the hotels that can fit in one slide, but you know it $300 million, that's a lot of apartment buildings, hotels, houses, land, industrial warehouse, etc., right? So now now who are we, Mike? It's kind of noisy in the background, Mike. So I'll just introduce you, Mike. You know, so Mike lost everything back in 2000 to 2003. Okay, and yet after all of that, right, like literally becoming basically homeless, right? Mike has acquired over $200 million worth of properties, 1,500 apartment units, 40 houses, you know, 4 hotels, and he's building a hotel in Sarasota, Florida, $100 million project, right? So this is proof, right, that even when Mike lost everything, you know, he didn't give up and say, no, because I lost everything, I couldn't, you know, I'll stop investing in real estate, right? So not having money right now should not be an excuse for you not to go into real estate, because again, when you learn how to raise OPM or other people's money, you can invest in real estate. You can own a lot of properties when you know how to raise private capital. All right. So and here's my experience. My expertise is helping Mike raise private capital through social media, purely organic marketing. You know, we didn't have paid ads. All right. And I was able to teach our mastermind members, our students, the same techniques. So they too, you know, were able to scale up the rental portfolio, you know, through attracting millions of dollars in private capital, specifically on social media. But what we're going to share with you today, you know, applies not just on social media. Okay. So let's now, you know, and I don't know if, you know, if we can unmute Mike, but when Mike tried to raise capital, right, you know, for one whole year, right, Mike, you raised a big fat zero.
Zero, absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Like I went every 2 or 3 times a month. I was pitching to raise capital in real estate, and after a year, I did absolutely zero in return. It was tough.
Yep, it was tough. So for those of you who tried to raise private capital and you also failed, you're not alone, right? We all failed, okay, in raising private capital, especially in the beginning, right? So what did you do, Mike? Okay, so Mike is muted right now, but go
Yeah,
ahead,
no.
Mike.
So what we did was change up our style. You know, what I did was start, instead of going to these meetings, focusing on me. I focused on we FM, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And that was everything. So many times you go into these meetings always talking about yourself and how great you are and all these great things. You know, I went into meetings talking about how I did this deal, we made $1 million, and how I did this deal, I made 200,000. You know, that's great, but nobody really cares. What they really want to know is what's in it for them. What are they going to get in return?
Yep.
Go ahead, Win.
Yeah. So it's all about, that's the whole psychology of persuasion, right? And then of course, that's the time that, I came on board and help you with social media marketing, but using the same concept of not, of thinking about your potential investors, right? What's in it for them. So, after all of that, we finally cracked the code on raising OPM. And you might be wondering, well, it's easy for you to say, Mike, and when you guys are experienced investors, but what about me? What about us that are relatively new to this, right? Is it possible for us to raise millions of dollars in private capital as well? Well, we taught the secrets to Keisha Kennedy, okay? And she went from 3 houses that she bought over 10 years, all right? And once she learned how to raise private capital, she went from 3 houses in 10 years to over 500 apartment units in just 18 months. All right. She went from zero using her own money to buy properties to over 1,000 investors through in her database just through posting on Facebook and LinkedIn. All right. So what you're going to learn will work also for you, but of course you need to work it, right? So here are the 3 secrets we want to share with you today. Secret number 1, attract investors, don't chase them. Secret number 1, you will learn how to get high net worth individuals to want to give you money. Think about that one, right? Secret number 2, which we call the 4E strategy. This is how you get high net worth individuals, you know, even if all your friends and family are broke, it doesn't matter. Through the 4E strategy, you will be able to build your own network of investors. And then secret number 3, it's not about you, as Mike said, but your investors, WIIFM. And this is how you can persuade investors to invest millions of dollars with you. All right. So let's jump right in. First secret, secret number 1, attract them, don't chase them. And I know this sounds like, new age mumbo jumbo, but it absolutely works, and we'll show you how it works. Okay, we will show you why. All right. So a lot of people have this misconception, that in order to raise millions of dollars in private capital, it's all about the thrill of the chase, right? So you might have heard this expression: make a list of 100 people and call each and every one of them and tell them, hey, invest with me, blah 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 blah. But you know what? That's absolutely wrong. Okay. All right. So that's absolutely wrong. I mean, it can work for some, but it's not the system that we recommend because this is a hard sell, right? And we don't do hard sell. All right. You don't have to do a lot of convincing someone to invest with you. And if that's your concept, that you gotta chase investors and beg them for money, then your approach is ass backwards, right? So, like, what is attracting versus chasing investors? Well, chasing investors, as I said, you're cold calling people, right? You're calling your friends, family, and colleagues. Okay. You're asking them, invest with me on my deal. It's a no-brainer. You'll make like 50% return in 6 months. That is chasing investors. All right. And it doesn't work generally, and you end up tired, burn out and with no friends, family, and work colleagues. Okay, because you kept asking them for money. All right. Now, on the other hand, attracting investors is educating people about real estate investing, but inserting it naturally in the conversation. All right. You don't have to talk about real estate all the time, or you don't have to talk about just real estate all the time, but really just be interested in talking to people, being genuinely interested in talking with them, finding out how their day was, whatever. What do they think about the economy, blah, 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 blah. You know, not always talking about real estate, but being a good friend and listener. Like a good example of this is our partner, Daniel Nguyen. He's an investor relations guy, right? Mike, I mean, he would just play golf, by himself. And, he will tag along, a total stranger. And after talking with them, in the golf course, he ends up with a potential investor wanting to write him a check for $500,000. I know that sounds crazy, but that's actually how Daniel works. That's how actually he raised private capital. What we do what I do on social media, Daniel does it in the golf course, and he gets investors. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, he does not chase her at all. I mean,
Yep.
the entire time they're golfing for the 2.5, 3 hours, he's talking about everything, friends, family. And then, by the way, I have a friend, we do real estate. Would you be interested?
Yep. There you go. So you might be thinking, well, do I have to be a smooth talker to attract private investors? Like know some, Jedi mind tricks or whatever, or be a smooth talker? Well, the answer is no. And here's a proof. Tim Vest, who is an absolute introvert, right? Was able to attract 11 investors on LinkedIn in just 10 business days. Okay. So you don't have to smooth talk people for them to invest with you. Okay. Or for them to be attracted to you. All right. So now you might be saying, but here's a problem, right? All of my friends and family are broke. All right. Well, you're not alone. Okay. As I said, as Mike said, when he started, he has the same situation. Okay. So, and again, going back to that big lie about money, or about raising money, you don't need to have wealthy connections in the beginning, right? So how exactly does this work? Well, that's where secret number 2 comes in. We call it the 4 E's on social media. All right. Now, before I share with you what you can post, let me share with you what you should not post. And what you should not post is something like this. Okay. You cannot post something like this because, I see this all the time on social media. Okay. They will post something like, hey, I have, a $5 million deal. I need $1 million. Contact me. All right. Well, why is that not effective? Well, because you're begging for money. You're chasing investors, right? On the other hand, like this post, I mean, this is an example of you're begging for money. My team and I are looking for investors or equity partners on our first deal. Okay. So, I mean, there are so many mistakes with this post. I'll just share with you just 2 of them. Mistake number 1 is begging for money. All right. And then mistake number 2, do you know, unless you've filed the right exemption with the SEC, do you know that putting something like this on social media is basically a form of public solicitation for capital, for a private deal? And therefore, you need to file the right exemptions with the SEC. Otherwise, you can literally get fined by the SEC or even go to jail. All right. So this is a serious matter, And I know a lot of investors, newbie investors, amateur investors actually do this on social media. I literally see this almost every day. But you know what? I mean, this is not legal, okay? So be careful out there, right? I mean, you just need to know how to do this the right way, okay? So how then, do you post on social media to attract private investors or high net worth individuals? Well, that's where the 4 E's come in, So you put out educational posts out there. Why? Because it builds your credibility. When you educate people, it builds your credibility, and therefore people start trusting you. Okay. Now, hold on. Sorry for that. What else? Well, you cannot just educate people all the time. You gotta put out engaging posts. Now, social media is one big party. And in a party, isn't there like almost always like this one person who talks about himself all the time, right? Now, what happens? At the end, nobody wants to talk to that person, right? In the same manner, on social media, you put out engaging posts. Okay. Why? So that people can see that you're interested in what they have to say. You're not just talking about yourself, right? So when you do that, it builds your likability, right? It allows you to expand your network, right? Now, another post you can put out there are what are known, as encouraging posts, right? So this shows that you're a positive person, right? Because who wants to hang out with someone who is negative all the time and someone who complains all the time, right? So again, you put this out so that this improves or builds your likability. And then lastly, nothing disarms faster than humor, right? So put out entertaining posts out there, right? Share what you do over the weekend that is fun or whatever, right? Because why? Because this post again build your likability. Because this is the psychology of human behavior. We do business with people we know, like, and trust. In the same manner, in private investors, they invest millions of dollars with people they know, like, and trust. Therefore, on social media, you get people to know, like, and trust you. Okay. And when they do, most likely they will invest with you. They will seek you out and want to talk with you. All right. Now, you might be saying, oh, does this really work? I mean, that this sounds like weird, right? Like you're not even asking for money. Well, here's the proof that this absolutely works. Okay. So here's a direct message, on Facebook. This guy found us on Facebook, found Mike on Facebook, and he reached out, to our Facebook group, Apartment Investment Secrets. And basically he said that yeah, he's been investing in syndications. He even helped other syndicators. And you know what? He and his brother, together, the first investor presentation that Mike did to their group, right, Mike? You raised like $10 million. No, you raised $5 million in 2 hours. Okay. And then eventually Mike raised like another $5 million. Like, they invested with Mike, and they found Mike on social media through the 4E strategies, right? Through the 4Es. And then this guy here reached out to Mike, on LinkedIn, and basically said, well, I'm already an investor. I'm a limited partner on apartments. And by the way, can I invest money with you on hotels? I mean, think about that, guys. Like people are asking, can I invest money with you? That's the epitome of attracting investors, right? I mean, Mike did not even ask, and yet this guy is like volunteering and say, hey, can I invest money with you? Think about that. Think about how powerful that is, right? You're no longer begging for money. Now you might be saying, well, maybe that's like small amounts of money. Well, here's a post that Mike shared on LinkedIn, but actually this post right here, it came from Instagram. All right. And, I'll just read it here. There's also potential for us to partner up on deals. We've built up our family office to over 100 million in assets, right? Think about this. This family office reached out to Mike on Instagram, again, through the 4E strategies, and their investable assets is $100 million. And in fact, that's like the average family office. They have like $100 million in assets, or actually more, right? And so think about that, right? You can reach people like that, or institutional investors, also on social media through the 4Es. That is very powerful, right? Now you might be asking, do I have to have millions of followers on social media to raise millions of dollars, in private capital? Well, who here, has heard of Robert Musso? No one? Okay, well, because Robert Musso is not a celebrity, right? He doesn't have, millions of followers in social media. In fact, he probably has like less than 10,000, followers in social media, probably even in the, low hundreds, depending on the social media platform, right? And yet, in just 10 business days, on LinkedIn, he was able to attract 7 lenders, 2 private investors, and he even got invited to be a guest on a podcast. Think about that, right? Someone who is not famous being invited to be a guest on the podcast because he put out posts out there that got 7 lenders, 2 private investors, to be attracted to him. Okay, so this absolutely works. All right. Now you might be asking, now once I attract these private investors, let's say you implement secret number 1 and secret number 2. Now they're calling you, hey, I want to invest money with you. I have 100,000, I have 300,000, I have 500,000, I have $1 million. I want to talk to you, right? What should you tell them? How should you talk to them, right? Well, that's where secret number 3 comes in. So, Mike, you want to talk about secret number 3? It's not about you, but about your investors, WIIFM.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, everybody always going in talking about themselves and how great they are. No one cares. They want you to tell them how much money they can make. How can they, by leveraging your vehicle, how can they spend more time with their family? By utilizing you, how can they get their dream car? By utilizing you, how can they obtain their financial freedom? By leveraging you, how can they spend more quality time with their family? And those are the key things that you have to do. And when you go in there, you got to learn about their dreams, their goals. What's their investment appetite? What's their risk tolerance? Do they like hotels? Do they like apartments? Would they rather do wholesaling? And what type of returns can you get them? These are the key things that you need. And so instead of going in talking about how you scored 4 touchdowns in one game like Al Bundy, go in there, find out what they're expecting and what they're looking for. And this is when you start touching on the WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Right, right. So investors are humans like you and I. We want to feel understood, right? And when they feel like you understand them and you actually cared for them, right? For their opinion or what they say, then they're more, more likely they will like and trust you. And again, people invest with people they know, like, and trust. Okay. So when you talk with them, as Mike said, don't talk about you too much, but rather listen more than you speak and really try to understand your investors, WIIFM. And don't assume that everybody wants cash flow, right? There are investors out there, they make a lot of money, $1 million a year, and the last thing they want is another, $10,000, $20,000, coming in. It just adds to their taxes. What they care more about will be the tax benefits, right? Every investor is different. And so by knowing your investors WIIFM, you will be able to match the right investment with the right investor. Okay. So here are the next steps. So Mike, when I talk about the next steps, I want me to go through this. After knowing your investors WIIFM, right? Step number 1 is have them fill up an accreditation form, right? Because this form is very crucial so that you comply with SEC guidelines. And again, if you don't, you can get, SEC fines or even jail time, right? So step number 2, once they filled up the accreditation form, you got to know their WIIFM, then you send them an executive summary of your deal that fits their WIIFM. All right. And then you call them, answer their questions or concerns. And then step number 4, you have your attorney draft the syndication paperwork and send them to your investor. I mean, this paperwork costs like what, Mike? Like 15, 20,000, sometimes $30,000, which is crazy, I know, but
Absolutely.
they do cost that much, right? So now at the end of this training, right, I will show you how to get our templates, accreditation form and executive summary, all right, and see what's inside the syndication paperwork and understand like, why do these documents cost so much money, right? Who here wants, our executive summary and the accreditation form? Type it in the chat. I want it. Okay, who wants this? At the end of the training, you will know how to get this. Hitesh Patel said yes. Caris, I want it. Antoine, I want it. John Philip, Crystal, Kevin, Brandon, James, Skip. Cool. All right, we will show you at the end of the training how to get these. All right, all right. So we have just shared with you these 3 secrets, right? Secret number 1, attract them, don't chase them. How to get high net worth individuals to actually want to give you money. Secret number 2, the 4E strategy, how to get high net worth individuals even if all your friends and family are broke. And then secret number 3, it's not about you, but your investors, WIIFM. And by doing this, now you know how to persuade investors to invest their money with you. All right. So now what do you do? Now that you know these 3 secrets, right? Well, you have 3 choices. Choice number 1, you can choose to do nothing, like this guy here, right? So, well, if you do nothing with what you've learned, this would have been a waste of time, because then you will get nothing if you don't implement what you just learned, right? Now, choice number 2 is better than doing nothing, and that is you can try to do this by yourself. You can come up with your accreditation form. You can figure out, over time, like how many posts, Mike, that you and I did on social media that, we spent a lot of time on, and yet the post did not do well, right? And then we would do a post.
Multiple times.
Yeah, a lot of
Multiple.
times, multiple times, right? So, and then we will have a post, that we spend little time on, and all of a sudden that post become viral, right? And then by doing a lot of trial and error, we figure it out. Okay, this is why this post works. This is why this post doesn't work, right? So you can learn this over the next 3 years, which is what it took us to really, really put this into a system, right? Doing this by your own, coming up with your own executive summary, which is a PowerPoint slide presentation that persuades investors so that they invest with you. They invest, with you on your deal, right? So you can try to figure out to do, you can try to do this by yourself, right? But you can be burnt out. You can make a lot of mistakes, right? It's going to take a lot of work, right? So why do this when choice number 3 is you get our help, right? More specifically, like with our help, if you're able to attract investors when you speak because you're using secret number 1, right? And your investor database, like Keisha's, investor database is increasing every day on social media because you're using secret number 2. And then when they call you, right, you're able to persuade them because you're using secret number 3, right? Do you think you can succeed with this? Who here thinks that they can succeed when they have all of these 3 secrets, and on top of that, Mike and I help you? Who here thinks that you will succeed in raising millions of dollars in private capital? Absolutely, Crystal, Brandon, I can, right? Who else? Who else can succeed? You think you can succeed when you know all these 3 secrets, and then you have Mike and I helping you. Brandon, Kevin, Skip, John, Jason, Sam, Todd. Cool, guys, cool. All right. So we can definitely help you. So what if you get not just Mike and I, but also John Glankler, who is Mike's syndication and SEC attorney, okay? Because that is very, very important. So what did we do? Well, we put together a 2-day live event, okay? that actually goes very deep into the topic of raising OPM, because to be honest, there's no way we can pack everything that we know in just an hour training right now, right? So we will discuss this over 2 days. And not only do you get the knowledge, but also the systems and the network, okay, so that you can raise millions of dollars in OPM or private capital, okay? So this 2 day event, what do you get out of this 2 day event? Well, on day one, which by the way, there are only 6 tickets left, okay? By the end of the first day, you will have lined up several prospective investors who are interested in talking with you about investing in real estate, because you will have used our investor searching script. And I know that sounds weird, but this script, you use this script and you will actually find investors using this script, okay? And this is why, we mentioned like you need the knowledge and systems and network in order to raise millions of dollars in private capital. And with this event that we put together, you will have access to those systems like the investor searching script, okay? And then you will have developed, practiced, because this is a workshop. This is not one of those you sit and then you don't talk, you don't implement what you're learning. Here it's more like, you sit, you learn, and then you actually practice, okay? You actually practice and perfect your magnetic investor pitch, all right? So that now you can persuade people to invest money with you, right? Imagine getting most of the investors you talk with to say yes, just like what Mike does, right? It always amazes me when Mike talks to a potential investor, and every single time, the investor said, "Oh yeah, sure, I will fill up the accreditation form." Bam! Like there's very few people who actually turn down Mike, because and we will share with you Mike's script in talking to investors. All right. Then you will have developed your own social media investor attraction formula, so you can attract high net worth individuals on LinkedIn and Facebook, and also on Instagram. Right. This is the exact formula, the exact methodology that I use every day to help Mike raise millions of dollars in private capital on social media. And you'll get all of these three things just by the end of day one. Okay. Think about that. And again, only 6 tickets left, guys. So by the end of day two, okay, you will have met at least 10 accredited investors. These are people who make 200,000 individually per year, or 300,000 per year as a household, and or their net worth is $1 million or more, all right, excluding the personal home. And so think about that, right? One contact, that you meet during this 2 day event could literally change your life, right? What if that investor, decides that, what, I like you, I have $300,000, I'll give you this as a line of credit. And before you knew it, you're buying, houses, apartment buildings left and right, because you have this line of credit, right? For a private investor, right? And in fact, Mike, this is, like one of your investors basically did the same thing, right? Your earlier investors, he gave you like a line of credit, and that really set Mike like really, that got Mike really started.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I got
In-
started. One of my first investors gave me $200,000 at what 11% with 2 point, no 10% with two
Mhm.
points, and that really accelerated my career. And then from there, I landed another guy. The next guy ended up giving me $750,000
Nice.
at 10%. No, he varied between 8 to 10% and no points.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's pretty amazing once you get started, and it only continues to get bigger. You'll attract more people, like you shared earlier. You'll become that magnet,
Mm-hmm.
attracting OPM. Raising capital is the only way to really scale up your business.
Yep,
If
exactly,
you just
exactly.
want to keep using your own money, hey, maybe this is not for you, but this is a system that can help elevate you. And look, maybe you just want to get 30 units or 10 units or just, one building. Well, with this same system, I'm talking to asset managers that are responsible for lending 30, 40, 100, 200, 300 million. and they're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Once you learn the system and you put it into play, you just hit repeat, and now you begin to get closer to that goal of financial freedom.
Yep, exactly. So think about that, guys. So two investors that might have, gave him $950,000. Well, here at at this 2-day event, you get to meet at least 10. And we know for a fact that there are 10 of them or more than 10 because, this 2-day event is really for our mastermind members. And, and over half of them are accredited investors. So we know that you will meet at least 10 accredited investors during the event, right? Now, you will also know the legalities of raising private capital because, again, John Glankler will be there talking to you, answering all your questions about syndication, the syndication paperwork. He will show you the inside of the PPM, the private placement memorandum, the operating agreement, the subscription agreement. You will realize why this document is super expensive, right? But to be honest, this is probably the most boring part of the presentation or of the 2-day event, but this is probably one of the more important ones, right? That you gotta be sure that everything you do when raising private capital is completely above board, completely legal, completely complying with SEC guidelines, because you don't want a $50,000 fine or what happened to one of the Kardashians, right, Walt? Like she got a $200,000 SEC fine, right? For pump and dumping crypto. Well, you don't want that, right? And worse, you can even face jail time if you don't do this the right way, right? So you definitely need to do this, and this is why John Glankler will spend like a lot of time teaching you all the legalities of raising private capital. What's the right exemption? How do you deal with accredited versus non-accredited investors? What about putting up a fund? Things like that. He will go into a lot of detail and again answer all of your questions, right? So now here's the thing. On top of this 2-day event, okay, we will also give you like these bonuses. Okay, one of the bonuses is access to over 100 family offices with their employees who are the decision makers. And for those of you who don't know, a family office is basically a privately held company that handles investment management and wealth management for a wealthy family or even like multiple families, right? So again, generally their investable assets is like $100 million or more, right? So as Mike would say, this family offices, right, Mike, can literally write you a check for $5 million or more to fund your big deals, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen,
yeah,
there are people out here looking for individuals to write a check to. That's their job, to write a check for not just 1 million, not just 5 million, 20 million, 50 million. Look, I know using these big numbers could be overwhelming, but my point is there's someone out there every day, whether they're institutional or whether they're family or friends or just someone's just well off. They're out here ready to give you money. They're
yeah,
ready to give you money. Can you
right.
hear me?
Mhm. Yeah, you got cut
They're
off
ready
there
to give you money
yeah.
to write that check for
Yep. That's right, guys. And the value of that bonus alone, I mean, Mike doesn't really want to give this away, but by the way, this you have online access to this. This is updated every single month. We're adding more and more family offices with their, decision makers, with their phone numbers, emails, LinkedIn profile, right? So, I mean, think about that. This alone is worth the price of admission, right? Like you can literally get this, for $10,000 and it will be worth it, right? Because one family office that gets to know you and trust you can write you a check for $5 million or more. And, remember the first thing that we mentioned, just imagine if you can raise $1 million per year over the next 5 years, right? That's $5 million. Well, imagine if a family office write you that check for one deal on your first year, right? Think about that. Now, the next bonus that you will get is a one-on-one consultation with me, So that in the same way that I've helped develop a plan for Mike on how to raise private capital on social media, I will help you develop a customized blueprint for raising private capital, again, based on your situation, based on the network that you already have, right? We will talk about your three investor markets, your hot market, your warm market, and your cold market. And I will tell you basically like which market to focus on, okay? So that's value of $1,000. You get lifetime access to the recording. So if don't worry if you miss the event or whatever, right? Or you don't think the schedule works for you, it's recorded, and the value of that recording, which you have again lifetime access to, is $1,000. Now, for those of you who are like, well, you know what, I can't make the date to the event, and therefore I will not attend. Well, that excuse no longer works, because you will get, what I call a 2024, year 2024 contingency ticket. So in case you miss the 2023 event, don't worry, because you will have a ticket already for the 2024 event. So you can schedule it in advance with your employer. Value of that is $2,000. Okay. And as I said, this is how you will get Mike's executive summary. This is the investor presentation slides, PowerPoint template. Just replace your the information with your information, and replace Mike's deal with your deal, the details of your deal. The value of that is $500. And lastly, you get the accreditation form. You need this to comply with SEC guidelines. The value is $200. And all of these things, guys, the total value of the bonuses alone is $14,700, right? Like quite literally, it will actually be fair for us to charge you $14,700, right? Because of what you're going to get, during this 2-day event plus the bonuses, right? So, but obviously, if you add the ticket, the value of that is $2,000. If you go to our website now, opmintensive.com, the price is $2,000, and you don't have access to these bonuses, right? Total value of $16,700. But wait, because we will give you a good deal here, okay? Because you're watching this training, you're listening to this training right now, we will give you a good deal, a deal that you cannot refuse, okay? So what is it then? You only pay $1,500. Okay, go to opmintensive.com/webinar, opmintensive.com/webinar, only $1,500 to get the OPM Intensive, the 2-day live event in person, right? Plus $14,700 worth of bonuses, total value of $16,700. You pay only $1,500. Go to opmintensive.com/webinar. Don't forget the /webinar, okay? Only 6 tickets are left, guys, and I'm not kidding when I say only 6 tickets are left. Once the 6 tickets are sold, that's it. It's done, right? Go to opmintensive.com/webinar. This is the only way for you to get the bonuses, okay? And when you go to the site, it expires in 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes to make the decision, guys. So go to opmintensive.com/webinar. Now, let's pretend worst case scenario, right? You attend the OPM Intensive, and all it did is buy you one apartment building, just one. And that gives you a $2,000 a month cash flow. Is investing $1,500 in your education, in yourself, worth it, so that it gives you $2,000 a month in passive income? What's the return on that? You put $1,500, you get $2,000 a month, right? That's crazy returns, right? Now, worst case scenario, if all this did is help you raise $100,000 in private capital, is it worth it to invest $1,500 and raise $100,000? And by the way, because it is a skill, then you get to do it again and again and again, right? But let's just say all it did is help you raise just $100,000, right? And then worst case scenario, if all this did is help you avoid costly legal cases, against you by the SEC, or help you avoid jail time because you're able to raise private capital the right way, is investing $1,500 worth it? I believe so, right? Now, that's the worst case. But what if you're able to, do this, right? With the OPM intensive, what if it helps you raise $1 million a year over the next 5 years, right? Again, how will your life change when you have passive income, 25, 30, $40,000 coming in every month because of the skill that you've learned, during the OPM intensive. Again, guys, go to opmintensive.com/webinar, to sign up now, because again, there are only 6 tickets left. And, Mike, do you want to talk about the guarantee, or want to talk about it? So
Go ahead, man. Keep going, brother.
okay, right. So for those of you who are like, well, what if, I attend there and I'm not sure how to raise private capital? Well, not a lot of things in life are guaranteed, but Mike and I are willing to guarantee that if you make this $1,500 investment on yourself, right? And by the end of day one, you talk to Mike and say, you know what, Mike, this is a bunch of BS. I hate it. I did not learn anything. Well, Mike and I will give you your $1,500, no questions asked. You don't attend day two, you're out of there. We part as friends, right? That's our 100% money back guarantee. Again, go to opmintensive.com/webinar. And guys, we will only do this once in 2023. We don't have a seminar business here, right? So only 6 tickets are left. Go to opmintensive.com/webinar to take advantage of that $14,700 worth of bonuses. Doesn't matter, that you can attend because of your work. You have that 2024 contingency ticket, right? You have the recording of all the training. So again, this will be on January 25 to 26, 2023. Go to opmintensive.com/webinar. Again, there are only 6 tickets left. Don't miss this, guys. All right. So are there any questions? Or Mike?
It's not six. There's only 5 or 4 left. Crystal just bought one. Hey, look,
cool.
guys, we want you to be successful. And in order for me to continue to be successful, I got to have successors. And so in order to do that is educate, in other words, so that you can obtain the new American dream, which is financial freedom. So go to opmintensive.com, purchase your ticket. You'll see me live, me, Wendell, John Glaker, my SEC attorney, which we spend thousands and thousands of dollars per project to raise capital so that you can obtain your dreams. Wade, you have anything else there, brother?
Yeah, I mean that's basically it. As you said, raising private capital has been the most crucial part of you scaling up to the hundreds of millions of dollars worth of properties, right? So, and as you said, heck, maybe you only want to buy, like another 10 doors, right? Does this technique work? Well, it does work, right? Because it's all about, the psychology of human persuasion, right? And investors are people like you and I. They invest in people they know, like, and trust, and will teach you all of that. Some of our hard earned secrets, so to speak, right? Some of that little tips and techniques and tricks of the trade, so that you too can become successful in raising millions of dollars in OPM. All right. So this workshop, 2-day workshop, guys, will change your life. Like, I'm not even kidding, because just the networking alone with those accredited investors that you meet, I mean, 1 or 2 contacts can literally set you to the next level, right? Those family offices you have access to every single month. Again, just one family office out of those 100 plus, right? Can literally change, like, help you scale up from, doing single family homes to doing apartments, just like that, with just one contact, one family office. So guys, go there right now. Only 5 or 4 tickets left, because a couple of you have already purchased. opmintensive.com/webinar. So I think that's all we have. Right. All right, cool. So that the Teresa Arvison and Tom Rivenback, they're definitely going, they're part of our mastermind. So all right. Is there a question here, guys, that we can answer real quick about the event. Brandon said, thank you for the time tonight. So Brandon, you know, I mean, it will be great if you can attend this. All right, all right. I think there are no questions. So with that, guys, see you at the OPM Intensive, opmintensive.com/webinar. And yeah, Mike, you want to end?
Oh yeah, Crystal. Yes, we'll have a good rate. I believe they got it at it's either 109 or 115 tonight. Just tell them you're with the conference. All right. As
Yep, yep.
always, guys,
Mhm.
God bless you. God keep you. May God bless you beyond your belief, but not your capacity. And remember, you're one big deal away. See you guys soon. Peace.
You guys.